Well, even though this was a 4-game match, all 4 games have been played, and this is where it all gets decided. Look at the time, though. It was a 7-minute, 24-second bid. It's now already under 6 minutes. Objectively, you have to say that this is already in Hans's favor. That is a serious time deficit, Eric.
Serious time deficit, and usually deficits can be explained. And if Sindarov is spending this much time in the opening, even after bidding for black, something about the position he's not familiar with or something's bothering him about it. And I tend to agree. Generally speaking, as black, you go for some breaks here to try to equalize. That might be pawn to d5. Not quite possible here because the e5 pawn is loose. So Hans is getting his knight set up on g3, but usually, like, we know Sindarov is a very practical player. We've seen him play fast, play confidently. If he's being a bit timid here, maybe he's recalling his lines, his analysis. It's a risky thing, but he feels like it's worth it, even now, to think about that and try to play precisely in the opening.
And Hans is kind of bobbing his head. He's really feeling this position. He's used look at the clock, 10 minutes to start. He's at 9:46. He's barely used 15 seconds, and under 5 minutes for the opponent. He's got double the time. This is a serious deficit for Sindarov, to the point where I'm not sure that he even realizes that there's a long game ahead. And Eric, who is the player in this entire field that has used time the best, used it the most, worked it into potential evaluation of the entire position? It's Hans Niemann.
It's Hans Niemann for sure. And make no mistake, in an Armageddon game, he will play on any position. There won't be agreeing to any draws. We saw rook versus rook. And here, Sindarov, I'm not sure if he realizes the deficit. Like, sometimes you're in the game, you're calculating. There's so many nerves for the players here. And you don't look up at the clock that often. And then next time you check it, whoa, I'm down that much time. Sometimes it just hits you like a cold shower. Hans definitely feels like, just looking at him and the pace, very comfortable. The position that he has, is this a position you should be happy with Armageddon? Yes, no problem. Black, even though he's grabbing space on the queen side, there's tension in the position, there's possibilities. Hans isn't worrying about the thoughts that sometimes arise in Armageddon. Do I have to worry about an endgame? Do I have to worry about trades and equality? No. Right now, there's still lots of possibilities on the board, lots of play, and that should favor him with the 4.5 extra minutes on the clock.
Exactly right. Now we see Hans kind of slowing down a bit because, honestly, all his pieces are on fantastic squares, so it makes sense. Now he really has to think. The knights are perfectly placed, bishops, rook, queen. He's made all the easy moves. Now he needs to come up with a plan. It's kind of relatable. I think all of us in our chess games, that's the most difficult part. You put all the pieces where they belong. Now what?
So I believe one of the ideas in the previous move is to play c4 and follow it up with c5. The timing has to be right. Hans has played a3. I guess on the benefit is he doesn't want to give black easy moves, like, pushing those queenside pawns. What favors someone with this type of time advantage in this situation? A semi-close position might. A maneuvering game prolongs the game, a lot of shuffling that will give Hans tons of time to rally and reduce black's clock, and then it'll open up. It's a fine line there. This is not a semi-closed position quite yet. We do see some trades. We see that thematic c4 move. On a good day, you'd like black to take on c4. You'd like to recapture on z4 and argue that there's an isolated c and a pawn to target. Sindarov doesn't allow that. Plays b4. But what I'm seeing is progress by Sindarov. Pieces have been traded. His position has not gotten any worse. He's finding these moves quickly. And most importantly, he is not under pressure. We've seen him under pressure from Hans. He's been in pretty much lost position before. Here, I think a good argument can be made that black is pretty much equal without any issues. And not only equal, but with plans to reduce more material. Reduce material by taking on a3. Reduce material by ganging up on that c5 pawn and forcing white to start defending. And, little by little, moving towards a comfortable endgame.
And a move that both players may consider, and something we actually saw Sindarov use a lot in a previous game in this match, is the third rank or the sixth rank. So a move like rook e3 for white, a move like rook e6 for black. It can just be useful to support some of the knights there and maybe even double. So I was thinking maybe black would play rook e6. You played rook a6, and it also has your idea of rook c6, pressuring the c pawn. We might even see rook d3 here.
Yeah, you can't really afford to take on b3. You don't want to turn that rook on a6 into an active piece by opening up the a file. So you might be forced to play rook d3, but I'm not sure how happy he is about it. I think it's a forced move, so he's got to do it. And you know what's right about forced moves? Play right away.
Yeah.
So many players, even myself, sometimes on forced moves, I still spend time. I got to stop doing that. Hans plays it immediately because it is the only move. Don't give any free seconds to your opponent. But now what to do? What's coming next? The rook there slides to b3. Okay, rook c4 introduces the idea of rook b3, rook takes a4. Although even in that position, black can recapture on a4. Oh no, you have rook b1. You're right. I thought maybe that's what Hans was planning, but there's just rook b1.
Yeah, it's actually a kind of a sneaky trap because it looks like that would be the reliable idea. And if you take on b3, you're just losing that a pawn. So yeah, he's going to have to retreat, but this is progress because now you can play a move like rook b2 or even rook back to b5. Knight is coming in perhaps to f4.
Yeah, he wants that rook from a8 to maybe go to b8. In the meantime, rook b2, because he gave that check him on, the f2 pawn is loose. That's a huge check to give, and that changes the position. All of a sudden, black has the initiative. Black is catching up on the clock. White has no counterplay in a must-win game, not threatening anything, not putting Sindarov under any pressure. And we even see ideas like knight g6, all of a sudden, knight f4. Rook a8 might go to b8, might use that b file to bring in both rooks and put pressure. And Sindarov is a momentum guy. When he has the initiative, he seizes it, and he doesn't let go.
He is doing a phenomenal job. Remember the clock earlier. This is now effectively a time trial. There's not really a chance for Hans to actually win on the board here. He's got to use the clock to his advantage, and Sindarov has to convert this in only 3 minutes, but he has done, basically he's played so many moves so quickly that he's made up a lot of ground on the clock here.
A lot of ground, and White is running out of active moves. The knight on g6 going to f4, was that an annoying move? Yes, but what's even better, it deploys to e6, finding a centralized square. You can maybe go to d4 in the future, or look at this, repeating moves.
He can't
Why
repeat,
not?
That's right.
Where is Hans going to place his rooks? Does Hans want to repeat? No, he's going to play, he might repeat once more. And the last piece of the puzzle for black here is to bring that rook on a8 into the game. Not possible yet because a4 is loose. But at the end of the day, the pressure's not on him. It's on Hans to unravel the pieces and try to remove black's initiative or put some pressure on. And right now, I don't see the pressure. The time advantage is under 2 minutes now. So if you're in Hans's shoes, keep playing like this, keep surviving, and hopefully that, you can get Sindarov under a minute, where no matter what the position is, there's going to be a lot of chances. But the way Sindarov is playing and the speed, we're a long ways away from serious blitz time trouble.
That's right. Knight to b1, knight on f1. There's a lot of pieces all over the place. What does that do?
I'm on rook d1 here. If knight c3, there's just rook c1.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, you could. There's going to be a loose e pawn, loose c pawn at the end of the day there. I think rook d1 is very playable. He decides on rook a1. Okay, but
because he sees the repetition. Rook d1 might be better. Yeah, but I can't say it's better if you see this move and you realize that white doesn't have a way to continue. Look at this. Hans has no attack, no pressure. He has no time to take the a4 pawn. The knights are being dominated right now. The rook on a2, tremendous piece. Rook on d8, just a nightmare situation to be in.
Yeah, he's playing it so smart because he's using the fact that this is an Armageddon. He's playing with black. He can make that draw. Hans cannot play knight f, to d2. It's the move he wants to play. It's the better move, but it's not an option. If knight b to d2, you can play rook d1. The pieces are just completely tied up there.
Yeah, I mean, what decision here? What can he do? He goes for it, gives up 2 knights to win a rook and a pawn.
He knows this is bad.
That is bad. That's why he took so much time, but he couldn't afford to repeat.
That's right.
What does black have to do now? Needs maybe that knight on f6 might jump in. He wants to get both of his knights on good squares. That's going to take a little bit of time. Hans, in the meantime, he can't push the a-pawn any further. He needs to find something to target.
Oh, f6 is happening, though. There's about to be zero
F6,
counterplay.
F6 is pure coordination.
Mm-hmm.
No pawns are loose afterwards. The rook on f5 is almost trapped after knight d4. The a4 pawn is hanging. You can't sacrifice your rook for the knight because that c pawn can't run. Where is Hans going to find winning chances here, as his time advantage is now less than a minute and more exchanges are being proposed? And if more rooks get traded off, all black does, walks his king over to support the knights and eventually gangs up.
The knight on e6 is guarding c7, right? So there's not even any hope.
g7.
Yeah, everything's defended.
So maybe bring the king in.
Well, this would
Hans
be
try to play h4, h5. Try to fix something somewhere on the board.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good attempt. I like this move, knight c8, a lot, because if you go knight e7, white's rook will then have to defend c6, but you don't want to use your only piece in a passive position.
Oh, and he can't repeat. Right. Again, Sindarov's so intelligent with the decisions. He is going to lose the pawn by force because he can't repeat. I mean, it's pretty hopeless here.
There's nothing to do here. The look at how solid black is. There's nothing for the rook to munch on. And using the match situation to say, hey, you can't repeat moves, Hans is realizing that this is going to be a draw. Sindarov wins the Armageddon. You see good sportsmanship there, a fantastic match between those two players, and Sindarov becomes the second player to make it through and through the winner's bracket to the EWC Esports World Cup event starting next week with the top players in the world. There he is signing. Well, what can I say? I mean, he utilized everything to his advantage there, and masterful display of knight coordination.
Amazing. Yeah, and how about that? A little bit more emotion, raising it above his head there. His key, unique to the player, Yavakir Sindarov, totally deserved. He was a standout player for us in the group stage, Eric, and we knew that he had it in him to reach the top 4, and wow, he really had to earn it. He was down in the match to Hans Niemann. He came back. It was really a well-deserved performance.
Well-deserved indeed. And the good news is, if you're rooting for Hans Niemann, he's not eliminated.
That's right.
And in fact, he moves to the loser's bracket, but not very far off from a qualification spot. He does